Right now, beneath the floor of, well, your local forest, there's this supposedly plain, boring, brown mushroom that is actively hoarding toxic levels of mercury.
Yeah.
And all while being chemically brainwashed by a jelly parasite.
Yeah, it is quite the resume for something you'd, probably just step right over without a second glance. We are talking about Gymnopus dryophilus, or better known as the Russet Toughshank.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a stack of mycological research here, and our mission is to show you how this unassuming little fungus is actually a master ecological engineer, a toxic biosponge, and, the victim of an incredible body-snatching heist. Okay, let's unpack this by starting with its role as a forest architect. You've probably heard of fairy rings, right? Those naturally expanding circles of hypergreen grass.
Right, yeah, and the Russet Toughshank is a primary builder of those rings. But what's fascinating here is how it actually does it. The mushroom's underground network, the mycelium, it secretes these extracellular enzymes that break down dead leaves and wood.
So it's basically eating the forest litter.
Well, yes, but it's not just eating. It's stripping that organic matter down to its pure base elements, which creates a massive spike of accessible nitrogen, like ammonium and nitrate, right there in the soil.
Oh, wow. So it's doing the chemical work of turning dead leaves into instant plant food.
Exactly. And it actually goes a step further than that. The mycelium alters the local soil microbiome by recruiting specific bacteria, like Bacillus pumilus.
Wait, it recruits bacteria? Like it hires a crew?
Pretty much. That bacteria helps unlock phosphorus that is normally trapped and useless in the dirt. It makes it instantly accessible for plant roots. So that combination of raw nitrogen and newly available phosphorus is what causes that sudden explosive ring of green growth.
Okay, I get the engineering part. But I mean, because this mycelium acts like a massive biological vacuum cleaner for the soil, it's just blindly sucking up whatever is there, right?
Yeah.
Which brings up a huge red flag for me. If it's absorbing everything to process those nutrients, isn't it also pulling in heavy metals?
It does, yeah, and at a really alarming rate. The research categorizes the Russet Toughshank as a heavy metal hyperaccumulator. It specifically targets mercury and cadmium.
Mercury and cadmium?
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly dangerous.
Oh, it is. It has a bioconcentration factor, or BCF, greater than 1. That means the concentration of these toxic metals inside the mushroom is actually higher than in the surrounding soil.
Wait. If it's hoarding pure mercury in its cells, how is the mushroom itself not just dying from heavy metal poisoning?
That's a great question. The fungi bind these toxic metals to specific proteins that essentially quarantine the threat. They sequester the heavy metals away from their vital cellular functions and safely store the toxins right up in the spore-forming cap.
Note to self, do not ever forage the Russet Toughshank.
Yeah, definitely not for dinner. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, this exact trait makes it a brilliant tool for mycoremediation.
Mycoremediation, like using it to clean up chemical spills.
Precisely. We can purposefully introduce this fungus to a polluted industrial site, let it vacuum up the cadmium and mercury into its caps, and then just harvest the mushrooms to physically remove the hazardous waste from the environment.
So it's a living toxic cleanup crew.
That is wild. But here's where it gets really interesting for me, because despite being this masterful toxic bioengineer, the Toughshank gets completely earned by a jelly fungus called Sisygospora mycetophila.
Owned is definitely the right word. This jelly fungus doesn't just eat the Toughshank, it literally hijacks its cellular machinery.
But how exactly does it do that? Like, looking at the research, it doesn't just dissolve the host. It feels more like a sci-fi hacker sneaking fake blueprints into a computer system, tricking the workers into building something entirely different.
That is a perfect way to visualize it.
Yeah.
The parasite intercepts the host's chemical signaling pathways. Normally, the Toughshank cells receive chemical instructions to build a standard mushroom cap and stem.
Right, standard mushroom stuff. But the jelly fungus disrupts those signals and introduces its own. It forces the host's cells to mutate and rapidly divide into these waxy, pale, tumor-like structures called Colebia jelly.
Oh, man. So the host is unknowingly spending its own energy to build elevated platforms for the invader.
Exactly. It's using the host's height to help the parasite's own spores catch the wind. But you know what the most devious part is?
What?
The parasite's chemical blueprint deliberately avoids colonizing the host's gills.
No way. So it intentionally spares the reproductive organs.
Yes. It keeps the host alive and fertile just long enough to reproduce, which ensures a permanent, ongoing supply of future host mushrooms.
It keeps the factory running. That is so incredibly sinister. So what does this all mean for you? The next time you walk through a forest, Remember that the most nondescript organisms are secretly running complex chemical warfare and soil engineering operations right beneath your boots.
It really proves that the most inconspicuous things in nature often hide the absolute most complex chemistry.
Which leaves us with a wild thought to chew on. If a simple jelly fungus can biologically hack another organism's chemical blueprints to build custom tumor-like structures, could unlocking the exact mechanism of this fungal reprogramming lead to revolutionary breakthroughs? Imagine finding the secret to human tissue regeneration or targeted disease management, all hiding inside a hijacked brown mushroom you'd usually just step right over.